Worked with Albert Whitlock for the first and only time I've worked with him. I've been a great fan of his work. And he's a man of unique talent. He does amazing things with paint and brush. And he did for us. He created this giant flying saucer in the middle of the snow at a scale we couldn't do. And he solved some lighting problems for us because painting a snowscape with the correct light on it is not as easy as you might think. We had to do a lot of work on that. But I'm extremely proud of what he did, and it worked out great.
Well, the career in Universal started off really with the birds. Hitchcock called me in and I introduced myself as somebody that had worked with him in England. And he really didn't believe it, actually. But after I talked to him for a while, he got to realize that I knew things that were absolutely authentic, and then he got interested. Well, after that, there was Torn Curtain, MARNIE, all the films that he worked on, that he made after that, I did work on. Because he liked doing match shots. I mean, he liked doing anything like that. Earthquake was a very difficult movie in as much that Universal indulged in the luxury of booking films into the movie houses before they were even started. So there was a 12-week schedule, and there were 40 pieces of film to be done. Hindenburg lasted almost a year, but there were 70-odd scenes on that. In fact, the whole film was, George Scott at the end when the film was finished said it's his picture, not mine.
Well, Albert Whitlock, I had met on the Hindenburg because I had been kind of liaison with Albert on the Hindenburg, and I knew Albert very well, got along with him very well, and really was, I think, one of the shining periods of my career that I got to watch Albert at work and watch him do all his magic. All the matte paintings had an appropriate storyboard, so you knew generally what you were supposed to see. Very often we had an element that would be a live action element that was shot for a component of the matte painting. And that would just be cut in for the appropriate length. And then you would just wait until Albert delivered his work. And then you just cut in his little masterpiece and away you went. And they dribbled in all the way through the making of the film.
He would photograph, say, the bottom half of the frame out on the ice field, or the top half and part of it, whatever was important for that, and then take the film back to Hollywood, not develop it. He would store it in the refrigerator, cutting off just a very small piece of it so that they could develop just that for testing and for lineup, and then painting a painting to match. So it was actually an interesting process for me to go through. I've worked with him subsequently a couple of times to look at really sort of one of the Hollywood masters and how he did his particular technique.
Well, essentially what we did is we just built a portion of a spaceship, and we planted then Albert Whitlock created this larger spaceship out of it. But the big problem was getting the spaceship there. We had to hook it to a helicopter and drop it. And then we went to shoot the matte shots, and Albert wanted to wait till evening, you know, was to get the magic hour. And we waited too long. And the helicopter came, was waiting, and we waited. And finally, Albert said once more, and the guy said, "Now look, this is it, we're leaving." And so I remember we all had this heavy gear, and we tried to get in the helicopter, and I couldn't get the door shut. And so regardless of that, we took off. I mean, that was it. It was the end of the day. And then the guy gets partway toward the camp, and he said, "My God, I think I'm going to run out of fuel," you know. And then I say, "Well, if we run out of fuel, what will happen?" "Well, we'll just land." He said, "Well, spend the night." And I can imagine spending the night in this helicopter with 6 or 8 people, you know. But But we didn't. We finally made it back, and everybody was happy, except the pilot. He said we didn't realize, really what kind of trouble we were in. But again, ignorance is bliss in most cases.
That we had to find a piece of high ground on the back lot because I didn't like working from a tower, unnecessary anyway, because the back lot at that time was very plain and very hilly. So we found a high spot and laid the sheets out and just placed the people in the appropriate position. The vital issue in making a match art work is having things standing in space. If it doesn't look as though what you're painting is actually in space, dimensionally in space, receding from you, which doesn't necessarily simply mean the dissipation of color and tone. That's simple. But still, to get the feeling that it's there standing in space, if you don't achieve that, you don't achieve anything. It just looks like a painting. Remains two-dimensional. That's the main thing you're aiming at. Clouds, of course, help you get that.